Picture a moment in history when the entire world collectively held its breath, eyes fixed on the night sky, hearts brimming with anticipation and hope. July 20th, 1969. A date etched into the annals of human achievement. On this day, the impossible became possible. Mankind's age-old dream of touching the stars transformed into reality. The boundaries of human potential were shattered as we embarked on the most daring voyage ever undertaken. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the epic journey of Apollo 11, the mission that carried humanity to the moon and forever changed our perspective of our place in the cosmos. Now, let me ask you this. What if I told you that in 1969, with less computing power than your modern smartphone, we sent men to walk on the surface of the moon? It's true. The Apollo guidance computer, which steered the spacecraft and assisted in lunar landing, had a processing power of about 1 megahertz. That's less than 0.001% of the processing power in your pocket right now. But here's the kicker. This audacious mission, this leap into the unknown, had only a 50% chance of success according to some calculations. The risks were enormous. The stakes unimaginably high. Today, we're going to revisit this pivotal moment in human history. A moment that united our species, transcended national boundaries, and redefined the limits of what we thought possible. We'll explore the triumphs, the near disasters, and the sheer human will that propelled us to the moon. This isn't just a story about space exploration. It's a testament to human ingenuity, courage, and our relentless drive to push beyond our horizons. It's about dreaming big and daring to turn those dreams into reality. So, buckle up and prepare for launch. We're about to embark on a journey that will take us 250,000 miles from Earth, to the dusty surface of our celestial neighbor. If this glimpse into the Apollo 11 mission has ignited your curiosity about space exploration, you're in for a treat. This is just the beginning of our cosmic adventures here on Exploring the Universe. Don't miss out on our upcoming episodes where we'll dive deeper into the marvels of space science and human achievement beyond our planet. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and make sure to subscribe to Exploring the Universe for more awe-inspiring journeys through space and time. Remember, in the vastness of the universe, every like and subscription helps our channel reach for the stars. Join our community of space enthusiasts today, and let's explore the cosmos together. The Apollo 11 mission didn't occur in a vacuum. It was the culmination of years of political tension, scientific advancement, and human ambition. Let's dive into the historical context that set the stage for this monumental achievement. In the 1950s and 60s, the world was gripped by the Cold War, a period of geopolitical tension between the United States and the Soviet Union. This rivalry extended beyond Earth's boundaries into space, giving birth to what we now call the space race. 1957. The Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite to orbit Earth, shocking the world and especially the United States. 1961. Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first human in space, orbiting Earth once in the Vostok 1 spacecraft. 1961. Barely a month later, American astronaut Alan Shepard became the first American in space, though his flight was suborbital. These early Soviet successes spurred the United States to action, leading to a massive investment in space technology and the creation of NASA in 1958. On May 25, 1961, President John F. Kennedy addressed Congress with a bold proclamation that would define a decade. I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. This audacious goal, set against the backdrop of Cold War competition, galvanized the American people and set NASA on a relentless path towards lunar exploration. NASA's Apollo program was a series of missions designed to achieve Kennedy's goal. Each mission built upon the last, step by step approaching the ultimate objective. Apollo 1 tragically ended in a launch pad fire, claiming the lives of 3 astronauts. Apollo 7, first crewed Apollo mission, tested the command and service module in Earth orbit. Apollo 8, first mission to orbit the moon, capturing the iconic Earthrise photo. Apollo 9, tested the lunar module in Earth orbit. Apollo 10, dress rehearsal for the moon landing, descending to within 50,000 feet of the lunar surface. Each of these missions was crucial in paving the way for Apollo 11's historic landing. With the stage set by years of technological development and previous Apollo missions, NASA began the intense preparations for humanity's first attempt to land on the moon. NASA carefully selected the crew for this historic mission. Neil Armstrong, commander, a naval aviator and test pilot. Armstrong was chosen for his cool demeanor under pressure and his experience as commander of the Gemini 8 mission. Buzz Aldrin, lunar module pilot with a PhD in astronautics from MIT, Aldrin brought technical expertise and experience from the Gemini 12 mission. Michael Collins, command module pilot, a skilled pilot who had flown on Gemini 10, Collins would be responsible for piloting the command module in lunar orbit. These three men carried the hopes and dreams of a nation on their shoulders as they prepared for their journey into history. The Saturn V rocket, designed by Wernher von Braun and his team, was a technological wonder. Height: 363 feet, taller than the Statue of Liberty. Weight: 6.2 million pounds fully fueled. Thrust: 7.6 million pounds of thrust at liftoff, equivalent to 160 million horsepower. This massive rocket, the most powerful ever built, would be responsible for lifting the Apollo spacecraft out of Earth's atmosphere and sending it on its way to the moon. The crew underwent rigorous training to prepare for every possible scenario. The astronauts learned to identify and collect rock samples in various terrains, using aircraft flying in parabolic arcs to simulate lunar gravity, practicing lunar landings in computerized simulators, preparing for potential emergency landings in different environments. The astronauts spent countless hours in simulators, practicing every phase of the mission until each procedure became second nature. They trained for nominal operations, but also for a myriad of potential emergencies and contingencies. These meticulous preparations laid the groundwork for one of humanity's greatest adventures. The stage was set, the actors were ready, and the world waited with bated breath for the curtain to rise on humanity's first attempt to walk on another world. Date: July 16, 1969. A day that would be forever etched in human history. Location: Kennedy Space Center, Cape Canaveral, Florida. The air was thick with anticipation and the Florida summer heat. As the sun rose over the Atlantic Ocean, the massive Saturn V rocket stood proudly on Launch Pad 39A, a testament to human ingenuity and ambition. At its top sat the Apollo 11 spacecraft, carrying the hopes and dreams of millions. The atmosphere at Kennedy Space Center was electric. Over 1 million spectators had gathered along Florida's Space Coast to witness the historic launch. Among them were former President Lyndon B. Johnson and then current Vice President Spiro Agnew. Inside the spacecraft, Armstrong, Aldrin, and Collins ran through their pre-launch checklists, their hearts racing but their voices calm and professional. At Mission Control in Houston, teams of engineers and scientists monitored every system, ready to respond to any anomaly. At 9:32 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the countdown reached 0. The 5 massive F-1 engines of the Saturn V's first stage roared to life, unleashing 7.6 million pounds of thrust. The ground shook, and a deafening roar filled the air. For a breathtaking moment, the rocket seemed to hover on a column of flame. Then, slowly at first but with increasing speed, it began to rise. As it cleared the launch tower, a collective cheer erupted from the crowd. "We have liftoff! We have liftoff of Apollo 11, announced Jack King, NASA's voice of Apollo. The Saturn V accelerated rapidly, pushing the astronauts back into their seats with a force 3 times that of Earth's gravity. In just 12 minutes, the spacecraft was in Earth orbit. The journey to the moon had begun. Duration: 4 days of interplanetary travel lay ahead. As Apollo 11 broke free from Earth's orbit and set course for the moon, the crew settled into a routine that would carry them across the 238,900 miles of void between our planet and its natural satellite. The astronauts had to adapt to the weightless environment. Simple tasks like eating, drinking, and personal hygiene became complex procedures. They used special equipment designed for zero-gravity conditions, including squeeze tubes for food and a vacuum system for waste management. Beyond Earth's protective magnetic field, the crew was exposed to higher levels of cosmic radiation. The spacecraft's hull provided some protection, but the astronauts also wore dosimeters to monitor their radiation exposure. As Apollo 11 ventured further from Earth, the astronauts experienced a profound sense of isolation. They were further from home than any humans had ever been. Communication delays with mission control grew longer, emphasizing their solitude in the vast expanse of space. Without a clear up or down in space, some astronauts experienced spatial disorientation and motion sickness, though this typically subsided after the first day or two. On July 20th, as Apollo 11 entered lunar orbit, came one of the most critical moments of the mission. Armstrong and Aldrin entered the lunar module, named Eagle, while Collins remained in the command module, Columbia. The two spacecraft separated with a gentle push. As Eagle moved away from Columbia, Collins inspected the lunar module to ensure its landing legs had deployed correctly. His report: "I think you've got a fine-looking flying machine there, Eagle, despite the fact you're upside down." With this separation, the stage was set for humanity's first attempt to land on another celestial body. Armstrong and Aldrin and Eagle began their descent to the lunar surface, while Collins and Columbia continued to orbit the moon, ready to rendezvous with his crewmates after their historic moonwalk. Is your heart racing faster than a rocket at liftoff? Are you feeling the excitement of this epic journey through space? Then why not join us on our mission to explore the cosmos? Hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more thrilling space adventures. Remember, in the vast expanse of the universe, every like and subscription helps our channel reach for the stars. Let's embark on this cosmic journey together. Date: July 20th, 1969. A date that would forever change human history. As the lunar module Eagle began its descent towards the moon's surface, tension mounted both in the spacecraft and at mission control in Houston. The entire world held its breath, watching and waiting. At about 50,000 feet above the lunar surface, the descent engine fired, beginning the landing sequence. However, as they approached the designated landing site, Armstrong realized they were headed for a boulder-filled area. He took manual control of the Eagle, searching for a suitable landing spot while carefully managing their rapidly diminishing fuel supply. The tension was palpable. In mission control, Charlie Duke, the Capcom capsule communicator, announced 60 seconds, indicating the fuel remaining for landing. The world listened as Armstrong skillfully maneuvered the craft, with Aldrin calling out altitude and velocity data. As they approached the surface, dust kicked up by the descent engine obscured their view. Armstrong had to rely on instrument readings and his piloting skills to guide the Eagle down safely. Finally, at 2017 and 40 seconds Universal Time Coordinated, a light on the control panel illuminated contact with the lunar surface. The famous phrase, "The Eagle has landed," moments later, Armstrong's voice crackled through the radio. "Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed." A wave of relief and jubilation swept through mission control. Charlie Duke, barely containing his excitement, responded, "Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot." Humanity had achieved the seemingly impossible. For the first time in history, a crewed spacecraft had landed on another celestial body. After several hours of systems checks and preparation, it was time for Armstrong to make his historic exit from the Eagle. At 2:56 and 15 seconds Universal Time Coordinated on July 21, 1969, Armstrong opened the hatch and began his careful descent down the 9-rung ladder. As he neared the bottom, he pulled a ring that deployed the modular equipment stowage assembly, which contained a television camera. This allowed millions of people back on Earth to witness this momentous occasion live. Armstrong paused at the foot of the ladder, describing the lunar surface as fine and powdery. Then, at 2:56 and 15 seconds Universal Time Coordinated, Neil Armstrong stepped off the ladder and onto the moon's surface. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. As his left foot made contact with the lunar soil, Armstrong uttered the now famous words, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind." This phrase, beamed back to Earth and broadcast around the world, encapsulated the magnitude of the moment. A single human step bridged the gap between Earth and another celestial body, opening up a new frontier for exploration. About 19 minutes after Armstrong's historic first step, Buzz Aldrin emerged from the Eagle. As he descended the ladder, Armstrong captured the moment with a camera. Aldrin's first words upon stepping onto the lunar surface were, "Beautiful view," to which Armstrong responded, "Isn't that something? Magnificent sight out here." Together on the moon's surface, Armstrong and Aldrin began their planned activities. They planted the American flag, collected lunar soil samples, and set up scientific experiments. They also received a congratulatory phone call from President Richard Nixon, who called it the most historic phone call ever made from the White House. For about 2.5 hours, Armstrong and Aldrin explored the area around the landing site, which they had named Tranquility Base. They moved with a peculiar bouncing gait in the low lunar gravity, which was 1/6 that of Earth's. As they worked, they were acutely aware of the magnitude of their achievement. They were the first humans to set foot on another world, opening up new possibilities for exploration and scientific discovery. Their footprints in the lunar dust symbolized humanity's first step into the cosmos, a testament to human ingenuity, courage, and the relentless drive to explore the unknown. For 151 precious minutes, Armstrong and Aldrin explored the alien landscape of the moon, conducting a series of planned activities while marveling at the surreal environment around them. One of the primary scientific objectives of the Apollo 11 mission was to collect samples of lunar material for analysis back on Earth. The astronauts used specially designed tools to gather these samples. Shortly after stepping onto the lunar surface, Armstrong collected a quick contingency sample, ensuring that if an emergency forced an abort, they would still return with some lunar material. Using scoops and tongs, they collected about 22 kilograms, 48 pounds, of lunar rocks and soil. These included fine-grained lunar soil, regolith, and larger rock fragments. They used tubes to extract core samples, preserving the vertical structure of the lunar soil. Each sample was carefully documented and stored in sealed containers to prevent contamination. The astronauts set up several experiments as part of the early Apollo scientific experiments package, designed to measure moonquakes and provide information about the moon's internal structure. A panel of 100 prisms used to reflect laser beams from Earth, allowing precise measurement of the Earth-Moon distance. A sheet of aluminum foil exposed to the solar wind to trap particles for later analysis. Throughout their moonwalk, Armstrong and Aldrin also took numerous photographs, documented their observations, and tested their ability to move and work in the lunar environment. They reported on the unexpected ease of movement in the low gravity, despite the bulky spacesuits. After 21 hours and 36 minutes on the lunar surface, it was time to return to orbit. The ascent stage of the lunar module had to fire precisely to rendezvous with the command module piloted by Collins. At 1754 Universal Time coordinated on July 21st, Eagle's ascent engine ignited. Aldrin later described the liftoff as a very smooth ride. As they ascended, they could see the American flag they had planted topple over from the engine's exhaust. After about 3.5 hours of careful maneuvering, Eagle approached Columbia. Collins, who had been orbiting the moon alone for more than a day, was relieved to see his crewmates returning safely. At 21:35 Universal Time coordinated, Eagle docked with Columbia. Armstrong and Aldrin transferred the lunar samples and other equipment to the command module, then jettisoned Eagle. Their faithful lander, its job complete, would eventually crash onto the lunar surface. On July 24th, after 2.5 days of return journey, Apollo 11 approached Earth. At 16:35 Universal Time coordinated, the command module separated from the service module and oriented itself for re-entry. Re-entry was a critical phase. The spacecraft had to hit Earth's atmosphere at precisely the right angle. Too shallow, and it would bounce off back into space. Too steep, and it would burn up from excessive friction. As Columbia plunged into the atmosphere at nearly 25,000 miles per hour, a communications blackout lasted for several tense minutes. When they regained contact, the spacecraft was descending under its parachutes. At 16:50 and 35 seconds Universal Time coordinated, Columbia splashed down in the Pacific Ocean, about 900 miles southwest of Hawaii. The USS Hornet was waiting nearby to recover the astronauts and their precious cargo of lunar samples. As a precaution against potential lunar pathogens, the astronauts were immediately placed in quarantine. They were greeted by President Nixon, who spoke to them through the window of their isolation unit. The successful return of Apollo 11 marked the triumphant conclusion of humanity's first journey to another celestial body. The mission had achieved President Kennedy's goal and opened a new chapter in space exploration. The lunar samples, scientific data, and the experience gained would provide invaluable insights and inspire generations to come. The Apollo 11 mission was not just a scientific endeavor, it was a global cultural event. On July 20, 1969, an estimated 600 million people, about 20% of the world's population at the time, watched the moon landing live on television. This made it the largest television audience for a live broadcast at that time. The impact was profound and far-reaching. For a brief time, the world was united in awe and wonder, transcending political and cultural boundaries. It demonstrated the incredible potential of human ingenuity and collaboration. Seeing Earth from the moon changed how humanity viewed our planet, emphasizing its beauty and fragility. The Apollo program, particularly the Apollo 11 mission, sparked a surge of interest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields. Universities saw increased enrollment in STEM courses in the years following the moon landing. Many children who watched the moon landing were inspired to pursue careers in space-related fields. The success of Apollo 11 fostered a belief that technology could solve major global challenges. Even decades later, Many scientists and engineers cite the Apollo missions as a key inspiration for their career choices. The Apollo program spurred the development of numerous technologies that have found applications in everyday life. The Apollo guidance computer led to advancements in integrated circuits and real-time computing. Tools developed for Apollo astronauts led to the creation of cordless consumer products. Fabrics developed for spacesuits are now used in firefighting equipment. Technology developed for spacecraft is now used in water treatment plants worldwide. Techniques developed to preserve food for astronauts are now common in the food industry. Originally developed to improve seat cushioning and crash protection for astronauts. If this journey to the moon with Apollo 11 has awakened your explorer spirit, you're on the right track. Continue exploring the milestones of space history with us at Exploring the Universe. Don't forget to leave your like and subscribe for more epic journeys through the cosmos and human achievements in space. Whether you're dreaming of becoming an astronaut, designing the next generation of spacecraft, or simply marveling at the wonders of the universe, there's a place for you in the space community. Each like, share, and subscription helps us reach more curious minds and inspire the next generation of space enthusiasts. Remember, just as the Apollo program pushed the boundaries of what was possible, we too can push our own boundaries. The universe is vast, and there's so much left to explore. So, are you ready to take one small step for yourself and be part of the giant leap for humankind? Join us on this cosmic adventure.